Most people think scarcity mindset just means being careful with money. It doesn't. A lot of the time, it means you're making bad decisions because you're scared. You hold on to the wrong things, avoid the right risks, overthink small purchases, panic over short-term problems, and stay mentally broke even when your income goes up. And let's be honest, this is why a lot of people never actually get ahead. It's not always because they're lazy. It's not always because they're stupid. It's because they've trained themselves to think like there's never enough. Never enough money. Never enough time. Never enough room to breathe. So every financial decision becomes emotional. Every setback feels bigger than it is. Every opportunity feels risky. And that mindset quietly drains your money way more than you think. So in this video, I want to break down how scarcity mindset actually shows up in your life, why it keeps people stuck for years, and how to start fixing it in a way that's practical, simple, and real. What's one money decision you made out of fear that you regret now? Comment below. Here's the problem. A lot of people think money is just numbers. Make more, spend less, invest the difference. Done. But real life doesn't work like that. Because most people do not handle money based on logic alone. They handle it based on emotion, identity, insecurity, and habit. That's why someone can start making more money and still feel broke. That's why someone can save a little, then immediately blow it. That's why people buy things to feel better, upgrade their lifestyle too early, obsess over looking successful, and still feel anxious every time they check their bank account. The real issue here is that scarcity mindset doesn't just affect your wallet, it affects your behavior. And behavior is what creates your results. You start spending for relief instead of progress. You start comparing yourself to people online and feeling behind. You start chasing the appearance of security instead of actual stability. You start staying broke while trying to look like you're not broke. And this is what keeps people stuck. Because if your relationship with money is built on fear, then even good opportunities feel dangerous, and even good habits become hard to keep. You don't just spend money from your bank account, you spend money from your emotional state. And if your emotional state is unstable, your financial life will usually reflect that. The first thing scarcity mindset does is it makes you choose relief over results. This is one of the biggest traps people fall into. When you feel financially stressed, your brain does not care about the smartest long-term move. It cares about feeling okay right now. So instead of making decisions that actually improve your future, you make decisions that temporarily reduce pressure. You order food because you had a bad day. You buy something because you feel behind. You avoid checking your numbers because the truth makes you uncomfortable. You tell yourself you'll get serious next month because that feels easier than facing what's happening now. That's not a money strategy. That's emotional management. And if I'm being honest, a lot of people are using money the same way other people use distractions. Not to build something, but to calm themselves down. That's why they keep repeating the same cycle. Stress, spend, regret, reset. Stress, spend, regret, reset. Nothing changes because the decision was never about the item. It was about the feeling. This is where people get themselves in trouble. Because temporary relief feels productive when you're overwhelmed. It feels like you did something. It feels like you took control. But all you really did was buy a little emotional distance from the problem. The problem is still there. In some cases, it got worse. A scarcity mindset makes temporary relief feel more important than permanent progress. So the fix starts here. Before you buy anything unplanned, pause and ask one question. Am I solving a problem or am I soothing a feeling? That question alone will save a lot of people money. And if I were you, I'd make it even harder on myself to spend emotionally. Give yourself a 24-hour rule for non-essential purchases. No exceptions. Most impulse spending dies when you give your emotions time to cool off. The second thing scarcity mindset does is it makes people fake safe. This one is sneaky because on the surface it looks responsible. You tell yourself you're being careful. You tell yourself you don't want to lose money. You tell yourself you're waiting for the perfect time. But what's really happening is you're using caution to hide fear. So you hold on to every dollar, but never build new skills. You refuse to invest in your health, your network, your education, your business, or your future. Because spending anything makes you anxious. You avoid learning about investing because it feels risky. You stay in situations that are clearly limiting you because at least they're familiar. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're really just freezing. And that costs people years. There are two types of people. One person uses money like a shield. He hoards it, clings to it, overprotects it, and never becomes more capable. The other person uses money like a tool. He spends carefully, but he's willing to deploy it where it actually creates leverage. One looks safer in the short term, the other becomes stronger in the long term. That's the contrast most people miss. Because keeping money and growing money are not always the same thing. Keeping money can make you feel secure. Growing money usually requires discomfort, patience, and better decision making. And scarcity mindset hates discomfort. It would rather feel safe than become strong. Let's be honest, fake safety is expensive. Staying unskilled is expensive. Staying scared is expensive. Refusing to learn because you're afraid to lose is expensive. So what do? You stop treating every dollar spent as danger and start separating reckless spending from strategic investment. Those are not the same thing. Buying nonsense to impress people is not the same as spending on something that increases your value, your peace, or your future earning power. If I were you, I'd create a category in my budget that is specifically for growth. Skills, health, tools, things that make future you harder to break. The third thing scarcity mindset does is it makes you obsess over small losses while ignoring big leaks. I see this all the time. People stress over coffee, subscriptions, and tiny purchases, but ignore the actual behaviors destroying their finances. They'll brag about being cheap in one area while being completely undisciplined in 5 others. They'll skip one small expense, then waste hundreds on impulse spending, convenience, bad planning, late fees, or lifestyle habits they refuse to confront. That's not discipline. That's selective awareness. The psychology behind it is simple. Small expenses are easy to judge because they're visible. They make you feel in control. They give you something concrete to point at. But bigger problems require honesty. Bigger problems make you look at your patterns. And a lot of people would rather micromanage tiny numbers than admit their behavior is chaotic. So they feel productive without making real progress. Broke thinking is not always wasting money. Sometimes it's managing pennies while your behavior burns dollars. That line matters. Because a lot of people have convinced themselves they're financially serious when they're really just financially stressed. Those are different things. A serious person looks at the full picture. A stressed person fixates on the easiest target. And this is what keeps people stuck. They keep trying to save their way out of habits that are fundamentally emotional and disorganized. But no amount of tiny cuts will save you if your system is leaking money through boredom, avoidance, insecurity, and lack of planning. So here's the move. Go through your last 30 days of spending and stop pretending every expense is equal. Find the repeat behavior patterns. Look at what you buy when you're tired. Look at what you buy when you feel behind. Look at what you buy when you want to reward yourself. That's where the truth is. Not in the $5 purchase you keep feeling guilty about. In the pattern. The fourth thing scarcity mindset does is it turns comparison into self-sabotage. This one got worse because of the internet. Every day, people open social media and inject themselves with artificial urgency. They see somebody their age making more money, driving something nicer, traveling somewhere better, posting wins, posting watches, posting this is what I made this month, and immediately they feel behind. Now they're not thinking clearly. Now they're reacting. This is where lifestyle inflation starts. This is where insecurity spending starts. This is where people stretch themselves to look like they're doing well instead of actually doing well. They upgrade too early. They buy status instead of stability. They spend money to reduce the shame of feeling left behind. And the whole thing is built on comparison. The real issue here is that scarcity mindset tells you there's not enough. Not enough success to go around. Not enough time to catch up. Not enough opportunities left for you. So you rush. You force. You perform. And you end up building a fake image while your real financial life stays weak. One guy wants to look rich this year. Another guy wants to be financially unshakable in 5 years. Those two people do not behave the same. One is reacting to an audience. The other is building a life. That's a difference a lot of young guys need to hear. Because some of the worst financial decisions people make have nothing to do with math and everything to do with insecurity. They do not buy because they need it. They buy because they want relief from comparison. They want proof they're not losing. They want to feel like they matter. And that is a brutal way to use money. So here's my warning. Stop taking financial advice from people whose whole identity depends on looking expensive online. That is a trap. Looking rich and being rich are not even close to the same thing. One gets attention, the other gets freedom. The fix here is simple, but not easy. Reduce your exposure to the content that makes you feel rushed, inferior, or fake broke. Define what a good financial life actually looks like for you. Not for strangers, not for Instagram, not for people you secretly want approval from. For you. Because when your standard becomes clear, comparison starts losing power. The fifth thing scarcity mindset does is it keeps you attached to bad habits because they become part of your identity. This is deeper than budgeting. This is about the story you keep telling yourself. A lot of people say things like, I'm just bad with money, or I've always been like this, or every time I try to save, something happens. And the problem is, once you repeat that long enough, you stop hearing it as a thought and start treating it like a fact. Now you're not just making bad decisions, you're defending an identity. So even when you make progress, you sabotage it. You save a little, then spend it. You get disciplined for 2 weeks, then crash. You start improving, then do something careless that throws you right back into the same old cycle. Why? Because progress starts to feel unfamiliar. And for a lot of people, unfamiliar feels unsafe. That's why struggle becomes addictive. Not because people enjoy it, but because it's what they know. It matches their self-image. It fits the story. And when peace doesn't match your identity, you'll unconsciously destroy it. This is why I keep saying you don't have a money problem, you have a behavior problem. And behavior problems don't get fixed by guilt. They get fixed by identity shifts and systems. You need to stop making your bad habits feel personal. Stop saying this is just who I am. No, that's just what you've repeated. And repeated behavior can be changed. A powerful shift is this. Instead of trying to be better with money, start deciding who you are. I'm someone who pauses before spending. I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. I'm someone who buys peace, not validation. That matters more than people think, because identity drives behavior when motivation disappears. And one more thing, don't confuse awareness with change. Just because you understand your pattern doesn't mean you fixed it. A lot of people can explain exactly why they're stuck and still keep doing the same thing. Insight is useful, but systems are what save you. So if you want to start fixing this, here's the practical reset. First, audit your last 30 days of spending. Not casually, honestly. Look at where your money actually went, not where you wish it went. Most people do not need more information. They need more honesty. You need to see the patterns clearly before you can change them. Then identify the emotional triggers behind your spending. Was it stress? Boredom? Comparison? Loneliness? Reward seeking? Convenience? This part matters. Because once you see the emotional pattern, you stop treating your money habits like random accidents. They're not random. They're reactions. After that, separate useful spending from validation spending. Ask yourself what genuinely improved your life and what just changed your mood for an hour. That question is going to hit hard for some people, but that's the point. You need to know whether your money is building your life or helping you escape it. Then create friction before bad decisions. Remove your saved cards. Unfollow the accounts that trigger comparison. Stop browsing when you're bored. Use a 24-hour rule. Put space between impulse and action. Because the more emotional you are, the less access your emotions should have to your money. Next, automate the good behavior. This part is huge. Move money automatically into savings or investing as soon as income comes in. Do not rely on willpower for something this important. Willpower is inconsistent. Systems are not. The whole point here is to make your future easier than your old habits. And finally, tie your money to a bigger identity. Don't just say you want more money. That's weak. Say you want peace. Say you want options. Say you want to become the kind of person who is calm under pressure, who is not owned by impulse, who doesn't need to look rich to feel valuable. Because when money gets tied to self-respect, your decisions start changing for real. You do not beat scarcity by worrying harder. You beat it by building a life that your fear can't keep running. At the end of the day, scarcity mindset is not just stressful. It's expensive, it makes you reactive, insecure, hesitant, and easy to derail. And more money will not magically fix that if your behavior is still being controlled by fear. So if this video hit a nerve, good. That probably means you needed it. Because the goal is not to become cheap. The goal is to become stable. The goal is to stop using money to manage emotion and start using it to build freedom. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like down below, hit that subscribe button,